Yes, it's people, and welcome back to another video on the Bridge YouTube channel where we bring you all things Chelsea. I'm your host with the most, the Ridge 258, here to give you the latest Chelsea transfer news. Here we go. Let's start off the midfield situation, as that's one of the more breaking news that's been coming out and the more major news, although there is obviously some major striking news ongoing as well. But let's start with that one first. So, it was reported by both Tom Roddy and then further on later on by Nathan Gislin that Chelsea also have some other options, possibly for A depth and also to be possible plan Bs or plan Cs for Moises Caicedo. So let's start with the first one, which is Tyler Adams. As you know, Tyler Adams played this season for Leeds. His previous season was also before Leeds was at RB Leipzig. He has a deal in his contract after relegation that if a team comes in for him with a loan offer and is able to pay his full wage per week, that that Leeds have to accept it automatically. So that is an obvious option. He was really good for Leeds, I think, even though Leeds did get relegated. He was a really good player for them. I thought he played the CDM role quite well. Whether or not I think he's ready for Chelsea Football Club is another thing altogether, in my opinion. But I'm not sure really personally if I think he's ready for him. Would he be a good squad player and maybe one to watch? I would probably say so as much when it comes to Tyler Adams. But whether I would want him to be paired with Enzo as the one option there, I'm not too sure personally. So the other option that Chelsea are also looking at for either depth to Caicedo or possibly to be, the plan B for Caicedo is my good boy Edson Alvarez. Now, listen, Edson Alvarez, he's played for Ajax for the last two to three seasons, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, early in this window, Borussia Dortmund was almost about to get him. However, the move collapsed for him. Chelsea tried to get him in the previous summer, if you guys remember. And one of the reasons why they're trying to get him is that according to the data that Chelsea scouts and the Chelsea board have been looking at, Edson Alvarez is apparently the more suited one to Enzo Fernandez out of all of the midfielders, apparently. And that's according to Nathan Gislin, of course, aka CFC News page. And that's quite interesting. I think for me, his stocks have clearly kind of dropped after this, from the summer to the end of the season. So I think for me, again, he's a good squad player, I would say. For sure, in my opinion, Edson Alvarez would be a great squad player to have for your team, maybe to be as a backup, but to start alongside Enzo in the Premier League, I'm not too sure for me. I'm personally not too sure if I would want Edson Alvarez to be starting next to an Enzo. For me, starting in the Premier League. I think though, however, as a good squad player, someone to come on, someone maybe if you do need to actually play one or two games, I don't think against mid to low level opposition, I don't think Edson Alvarez is much of a problem. And I also think, if you think about it, bringing in someone like Edson Alvarez or even Tyler Adams, let's say even Tyler Adams as a backup for, let's say, potentially if Caicedo does come through the door, right, is a good thing, because if you think about it, Santos is apparently a lot better when he's going forward, when he's playing in that sort of role that Enzo is probably playing. From what people have seen from him in the when he was in the Under-20 World Cup and at his time at Vasco da Gama, which is his previous club in Brazil. So you never know, bro. Maybe that might be, if you think about it, if you bring them as depth for Caicedo and then you have Santos who can play there, or even the Enzo role as the backup there, I can't lie to you, we might be cooking there. And also think about it, if he's better in that position too, he can also develop there even better. And he can, because remember, we want to also get some sort of, backup for Enzo. We can't be playing Enzo like last season, where we're playing basically every single game, 90 minutes. This could be a good welcome opportunity as well. So, listen, man, you never know on that section, indeed. So, let's move on now to Caicedo. So, it's been reiterated to Chelsea multiple times that 100 million is the fee that Brighton Football Club want, apparently, and they've also reiterated that to Caicedo's agent, who literally took a 24-hour trip, according to Jacobs Ben, to the United States to try to see if they could broker some way of getting Brighton to budge from where they were. So it's 100 million pounds apparently. Chelsea are also looking to do apparently one more bid, which is set to be happening very, very soon, and that will be the final bid for Moises Caicedo. And apparently they were trying to use his agent to try to get Brighton to budge in some way, shape, or form. Clearly it hasn't happened. And listen, man, we're gonna wait and see if this Caicedo deal happen. The club's already got their other options in order, just in case if this final bid is not accepted. So at the end of the day with Caicedo, it's really just a wait and see approach. Will it happen? Won't it happen? Who knows? God knows. But hopefully it does happen at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? We definitely want it to happen. So let's make sure it does happen. And that is pretty much all of the news in the midfield situation. Although on a little quickly one, apparently the Lavia deal with Liverpool was kind of like slightly stalling because Liverpool are not really trying to match the £50 million that Southampton want. So maybe that's one to watch. Maybe if they can't get CAICEDO, they may go for a Lavia plus an Edson Alvarez. Or whereas maybe before they might have been decided to CAICEDO, maybe it could be a CAICEDO Edson Fernandez, or maybe a Lavia Enzo Fernandez. You never know. So again, for me, one to watch indeed. Let's go over some smaller bits of news. So let's start with the first one, which is on Lewis Hall. So it seems that Lewis Hall is now set to be going out on loan. And this is something that we've known about for a while anyway. Lewis Hall, at the end of the day, great player. They haven't really played him in pre-season at all, but he's only basically played one game, small amount. I think it was Brighton, if I'm not mistaken, or Newcastle, and then this game that he played a full half of against Fulham. So you can clearly tell he was clearly on the outs. And at the end of the day, I've maintained the fact that I do think Lewis Hall needs a loan, needs some time where he can get a lot of game time and help maybe to possibly develop him even further, whether that be in the midfield, whether that be as a left back. That will be to be determined at the end of the day. To be determined. Let's move on quickly to my boy Angelo Gabriel. Good news for my boy Angelo Gabriel. It looks like he's set to stay. He's not going off to Strasbourg, it looks like. So Angelo Gabriel is set to stay apparently, and he's going to be a right wing option. And that Pochettino sees him as part of the squad. He's really impressed, obviously in pre-season, from what we've seen against, particularly against Brighton, and I think he also played in Newcastle or Newcastle and the Wrexham game. He's really, I think for me, like showing that he's got some levels to his game. He's a good player. He's a top player. Let's not get that twisted at all. So listen, at the end of the day, man, Angelo Gabriel's a top player. If he's going to be deputising someone like a Madueke or even fighting for Madueke's place, that is a good thing as well. So listen, man, shouts out to him. And also just quickly on Madueke, it's been also said that he's come back from injury and is in contention now for the BVB game, which is going to be happening Thursday morning UK time. So let's now move on to another quick bit of news, which is on Zakarian. As you know, this is the guy that we tried to buy from Russia. We weren't able to, obviously, because of the the money rules and the situation of both Russia and Ukraine that's currently going on. However, Strasbourg, the other team that we now own, is able to now basically buy him for some reason. I'm not sure what's going on there with the UEFA rules, but we move pretty much. And at the end of the day, apparently he's very close to going to Strasbourg now, and maybe from Strasbourg to Chelsea is the next move. So we will see on that one pretty much. And finally, on our last small bits of news, it is on Cucurella. Apparently, the club is still open to selling Cucurella. They're looking for a price of 30 to 35 million, and I wouldn't be surprised maybe towards the end of the window if Cucurella basically does leave. Like a club comes in for him with a high fee of like 30 to 35, or maybe a loan of obligation happens for Cucurella. I think because of the way Matson's been playing and how good he's been playing, I don't think the club want to lose Matson, and as such, Cucurella is the one that's going to be falling the sword, and maybe that's why they've been playing in pre-season to try to get his stocks up, and try to show clubs, oh look how good he is, he's ready. So that's pretty much a bunch of the small news now out of the way, and now I can get into the meat and potatoes, the striking news. Let's get into that one so far. So according to Nathan Gislin, he's reporting that Chelsea are not sold on the striker situation. Broha could possibly go out on loan. And when we're looking at Armando Broha, it's a few things there. Obviously he had apparently healed from what we knew from his ACL injury that he had in December. He'd even started pre-season earlier. He was doing pre-season for the first 2 weeks at Cobham and everything. So it's quite surprising to me that now we're seeing that he's possibly now, possibly could be going out on loan. Maybe it's just that, Pochettino doesn't trust him just yet. Maybe he doesn't see him as a good a player as he is, and he still needs a bit more time to develop from even Southampton. So you never know, man. Obviously we know that West Ham has been rumoured to be interested in Broha for quite a while, essentially, and that's been reported multiple times. So you never know. Maybe that's why Broha is basically underway. And in regards to the Lukaku VLAHOVIC possible swap deal, according to Sky Italy, there's going to be more contacts in the next hours, and that essentially what Juventus want is 40 million plus Lukaku, and that 40 million is in euros, which would be 35 million pounds. So it'd be 35 million plus Lukaku. So essentially they value Lukaku at around about 40 million pounds, and then plus the 35. So that's how much VLAHOVIC is worth. And apparently Stuart and Pochettino are big fans of VLAHOVIC. And listen, at the end of the day, you guys know my thoughts. I'm not really high on VLAHOVIC in general. You know, I've shown you guys the stats from yesterday, from his time at Fiorentina and his time at Juve, and some of the stuff that we've seen from him from my previous player profile on VLAHOVIC. So it's a bit cheeky on that one. I'm not too keen on it. But at the end of the day, if it does happen, it does happen. We can't really do that much about it anyway. At the end of the day, and if it does happen, all I can do is support and hopefully Pochettino's able to get that old side out of him that he had at Fiorentina. Pretty much, that's all we can really say on that situation, and we just got to move on that one. Simple as that, really. And finally, the last two bits of news. Leslie has signed for Chelsea. You can pretty much see on my thumbnail with him with the little Chelsea thing on top. He signed apparently for a 7-year deal. Pochettino has made a comment about him in the press conference saying he may possibly stay, may possibly get on loan. But as we know, he's been pretty much widely reported that he's going to be going to Strasbourg. He's only 19 years old, and I think he still needs time to develop. Particularly the fact that Santos now is under Santos to stay at the football club. I don't think it's likely for him to stay. And you've obviously got these options of like Tyler Adams, Edson Alvarez, possibly even CAICEDO coming in. It's not looking good for you, bruv. It's time for, at the end of the day, he's still a prospect. So Strasbourg is where he's going to be going at. And finally, on my boy Axel Disasi, apparently according to Fabrizio Romano, he's passed his medical. So you're probably going to get an announcement on him probably tomorrow. Most likely. And I think that's pretty much all of the major news out of the way. Haha, got you. No ways. That we still got to talk about the biggest news out here. This is Levi Colwill. Obviously, I told you guys that he'd apparently, according to David Ornstein and others, that he was set to sign it. It seems that that deal was going to be basically more than likely now happening. So he's going to be signing a 6-year deal. He's already did a little thing to Brighton Football Club saying, "Oh, thank you for your time here." Essentially, he's going to be signing a 6-year deal. Pochettino was really raving about him, and he's actually him talking to Pochettino is what convinced him to sign that contract. And that even Pochettino has already spoken about him against the Liverpool game, saying that he is probably going to start there because of Benoit's injury, but he has to also earn and fight it. And at the end of the day, that's a good thing for us. Badiashile, top player, Levi Colwill, top player. May the best man win. Simple as that, really. May the best man win. And guys, that is the video. Please make sure again to like and subscribe. I want a target of 360 subscribers, and in regards to other news, as you know, tomorrow is Wednesday, live stream at 7 PM with one of my fellow co-hosts that you usually have, whether that be Oliver, maybe that be Surfer, and some others that I know about will come along and maybe have a chat with me in regards to Chelsea's Football Club, or maybe it might just be myself, the host is the most. So come on, check out. And finally, as you guys know, 1:50. So the game's at 1:15 AM, as you know. So at quarter past. So quarter to 12 in the morning, which is 12:15 AM, 12:45 AM. 12:45 AM, I'll be doing a Chelsea versus Borussia Dortmund live stream. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that indeed. And guys, as always, please stay